Yes, one of the OGs of the Sonic franchise. I must say I haven't given Amy much attention considering she's featured in a myriad of Sonic media. She started as a minor character with a major crush on Sonic the Hedgehog, but over time has built up into something much more. Welcome to the Men Talk channel, my children. This is a newly branded segment I'd like to call Origin Oracle, where I'll do a deep dive on the origins of various video game characters, and possibly more. And of course, I'm starting with the Sonic franchise. Without further ado, let's discuss the true origins of our favorite pink hedgehog, Amy Rose. The beginnings of Amy Rose are rather unique, as her debut wasn't exactly in a Sonic game. Many of you are probably aware she was first seen in-game in Sonic CD, released in 1993. But the name Amy, in fact, was first included in the Sonic the Hedgehog manga series published in Shogaku Yonensei in the early 90s. I mentioned this manga in my Eggman Origins video, so if you haven't seen that one, be sure to check it out. The manga is completely separate from the story in the Sonic games. It focuses on a hedgehog named Nikki, a normal, nerdy hedgehog that can unconsciously transform into the superhero Sonic the Hedgehog. In these stories, Amy is the girlfriend of Nikki, and her design is quite different from what we eventually get in the games. She actually has a ponytail and is brown in color, until this design was updated in later publications of the manga series. She's frequently harassed by the local bully Anton Baruka, who seeks the key to her heart, which often requires Nikki to transform into Sonic to properly deal with him, aka
beat the shit out one of these niggas, boy.
This is probably one of the only pieces of Sonic media where Amy is actually in an official relationship with Sonic. But come on, Sega, you know you shipped this. Before we get into the games, I think it's important to discuss Amy's creation as a character. It started with a request from Sega's licensing business at the time, looking for a mini to Sonic's Mickey for that extra money. But similarly to how I've mentioned in previous Sonic videos, Sonic was designed as a character to stay away from the damsel in distress formula that Mario was captaining at the time. They decided a one-way relationship between Amy and Sonic was better, which led to the famous unrequited love that we see throughout a majority of the franchise. Naoto Oshima once again took point on designing the character with the help of Kazuyuki Hoshino, who would go on to be one of the lead art directors for many Sonic titles in the future. They based her features off of qualities they looked for in women at the time, with the hairband and sneakers representing Oshima's interests, while her mannerisms and traits Hoshino admired. And that brings us to Amy's game debut Sonic the Hedgehog CD, released for the Sega CD in 1993. Prior to the events of Sonic CD, Amy is seemingly already familiar with Sonic. I suppose the implication here is that he's already somewhat famous for his heroic deeds in the previous game. It's specified that she's a fan of tarot cards and other occult-style practices, and these tarot cards tell her that she will have a destined encounter with Sonic if she goes to the Little Planet, the setting for the game. And of course, being a huge fan of cancers, Amy rushes over to the Little Planet to meet the boy of her dreams. Little does she know, Eggman has nefarious plans for that same planet, and while she gets to meet Sonic briefly, much to his chagrin, she's nabbed by the Doctor's latest invention, Metal Sonic. Also his first appearance, by the way. Sonic, of course, manages to save her and stop Eggman's plans, saving Little Planet in the process. But in these cute little animations for the game, you can see Sonic clearly takes no interest in her. Fun fact, she possesses the nickname Rosie the Rascal in early Sonic media in Japan, but that was later dropped. Meanwhile in the West, Sega of America wanted us to believe this was Princess Sally Acorn from the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon running at the time. Okay, Sega. I guess at some point they realized they couldn't run with that lie for too long, but with that in mind, the story in the US manual becomes a lot more interesting. It starts with a friendly conversation between Sonic and Princess Sally talking about Little Planet, and how he intends to travel there for the sake of adventure. When they arrive on Little Planet, Princess Sally is kidnapped. I wonder how many kids this confused back in the day reading this and watching the animations that were included in the game. Post-Sonic CD, we do see Amy's inclusion in a number of Sonic spin-offs, like Sonic R and Sonic the Fighters. While we get no additional info on her background or origins within these spin-offs, I think it's worth talking about her Pico Pico hammer, which debuts in Sonic the Fighters. It was clearly added as a weapon to give her some diversity as a fighter in that game, but it would become a series staple in every appearance after this title. Although we still don't know where she got it from exactly, it was based off a popular Japanese toy with the phrase Pico Pico originating from the sound it makes when you whack it against things. And being the official weapon of Amy Rose, many characters within the Sonic franchise fear its wrath when Amy gets fired up. So that's what we know of her origins, and Amy of course gets a rather drastic redesign by Yuji Uekawa for the Sonic Adventure titles. I've mentioned him before as one of my favorite Sonic character designers to date. He delivers that straight quality bruv. They also bumped up her official age from 8 to 12, but I really don't think Sega cares about these ages anymore. In her Sonic Adventure appearance, there's actually continuity with the events of Sonic CD, with her reminiscing on being saved by Sonic. This title solidifies her character of obsessively going after Sonic's heart, though I do think there was some character development here of her reflecting on her own strength, and discovering her independence. She does become fully capable of tackling problems on her own, and is far from a damsel in distress, but we wouldn't really see them drop her reliance on Sonic until much later in the series, in my opinion. Moving over to the Archie comics, these publications pretty much leave Amy's origin story intact. She's introduced in the 25th issue during the comic's adaptation of Sonic CD. Sonic has to rescue his biggest fan from Dr. Robotnik and Metal Sonic's clutches. As I've discussed in other origin videos, the Archie comic was heavily based on the ideas from the Sonic the Hedgehog Saddam cartoon, with Sonic being a part of the Freedom Fighters, attempting to take back the planet Mobius from Dr. Robotnik's oppressive regime. So while the events of Sonic CD occur pretty similarly, Amy's brought back to the Freedom Fighters and plays a support role amongst the Resistance as a more minor character for a while. As a side note, she wasn't included as a character in any of the Western Sonic media that was going on at the time. Later in this comic series, she utilizes an ancient magical artifact known as the Ring of Acorns, which was originally recovered by Sonic. Using the artifact, she makes a wish to be older, causing her physical age to increase. It was basically a plot device used to explain the new appearance of Amy that was mandated by Sega. From that moment on, she would be identical to her form in Sonic Adventure, and goes on to become a full member of the Freedom Fighters. Then we have the Fleetway publication, Sonic the Comic. This also uses the game continuity to explain Amy's origins, with the Little Planet incident being adapted to introduce her. Though this version of the comics makes her a little bit more capable, giving her a crossbow to fight back before her hammer was even introduced in the canon. She would soon become a major part of the Freedom Fighters, as well as even going on to becoming the second in command at times when Sonic wasn't around. I do like that the writers of this comic were ahead of their time at making Amy a force to be reckoned with. I also want to give a special mention to the latest Sonic comic series being published by IDW that started in 2018. And I do want to cover the IDW comics in a separate video. I just want to break them down because I really enjoy that comic series, but I think Amy's involvement is worth mentioning here. While she doesn't really have origins in this comic series since it's pretty in line with the games, it picks up in a separate universe after the events of Sonic Forces. So they're all dealing with the recovery efforts after the fallout of their war with Eggman. While various incidents occur during the recovery, Amy steps up to lead the restoration team and serves as a crucial part of getting the world back on its feet. Every character interaction she has with Sonic proved to me that this is one of the best versions of her character out there. And while she still admires Sonic, that admiration is no longer the driving force of her personality. She steps up whenever she's needed and has the strength to fight back in most situations. There's also moments where she takes the time to be vulnerable and vents about the stresses of leading the restoration and the toll it takes on her. I highly recommend the first few arcs of this comic series to anyone who truly loves the personalities of Sonic characters. I think it's the perfect rubric for each of them, and I'm hoping that Sega applies these human-like versions of the characters in future titles. And then last but not least is the 2003 anime Sonic X. This was an anime that was personally overseen by Sonic Team, so the characters here are pretty in line with their game counterparts at the time. So there isn't much origins to discuss here either, but the story involves Sonic and his friends getting caught up in an accident while trying to stop one of Eggman's plans, transporting them to Earth. This is where they meet the Thorndikes, a rich family who takes them in while they figure out how to get home. Similarly to her progression in the games, Amy is written to be striving for Sonic's love, but I think they made her extra fiery in this series, giving her independent moments at times. Strangely enough, the show has moments where it builds up the relationship between Sonic and Amy, where it seems like Amy eventually holds a place in Sonic's heart, but it feels like Sonic Team didn't really fully commit. So here's an example. Without going into too much detail, in episode 52, Sonic is the last one to get back to their original planet. His friends at this point are unsure if he was stuck on Earth forever. When he finally arrives, him and Amy have this really romantic drawn-out moment where she breaks down and expresses how she thought he'd never come back. He then gives her a rose in response and says he'll never leave her again. The Japanese version delivers this scene a little differently, while the end credits theme plays dramatically in the background. Amy makes a very similar speech to Sonic, but at the end of it tells Sonic to stop bullshitting and tell her he loves her. The audio then cuts out at this exact moment while Sonic mouths something while he presents the rose. That looks like a proposal to me, bruh. That or Sonic is just a fuckboy. Either way, Lord Future would be proud. So again, I think Sonic Team wanted to have something there without fully committing to it. Though in the Japanese version, Amy declares him as her boyfriend in the next episode and mentions she's his future wife. Whether Sonic agrees with this is not confirmed. By the way, as I was rewatching this scene in both English and Japanese, there's this weird shot in the Japanese version of a sign that says, "The House of Amy Rose," but in the English version, they show the same exact sign with like no text on it. How strange and pointless of an edit is that? Did the localization team just not like the idea of Amy owning property? Like, what happened there? If you have any reason why they would do that, leave a comment below. And yes, it was 4Kids that dubbed this in the US, the same company that ruined your other favorite anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! And One Piece. As a side note, if you plan to watch this series, always go for the Japanese version. It's leagues better. Anyway, my children, that is the origin of Amy Rose, or Rosie the Rascal, wherever you want to call her after the end of this video. Leave a comment below for any other game series you'd love me to dive into the origins of, and who knows, maybe your favorite character will be next. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, share, etc., because this wouldn't be a YouTube video if I didn't say it. As always, be safe. The Prophet has spoken.